So we have the recording started. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Haley. I am the program manager with the Institute of International Education, and we work with Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence to promote and help recruit and provide support services for amazing students to be able to apply and be able to obtain the opportunity to gain a master's or a PhD at MBZUAI in artificial intelligence. MBZUAI is the first graduate level research-based university that's focused just on AI, which is very exciting. Specializing in machine learning, computer vision, or natural language processing are the current departments at the university. So we're really excited to be able to share a bit more. I've obviously connected. I see some very familiar names and faces here today. So excited to be able to welcome you all to today's Q&A session with current students. So I have my colleague here, Rebecca. We're both kind of tag teaming the red today, which we love. And we're both based in Washington, D.C. I want to hand it off for our current graduate council members to introduce themselves before we dive into the questions today. So I see Miriam is here with us today. So Miriam, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and sharing your name, maybe your position on the Graduate Student Council at MBZUAI, your degree, so your major, and where you're from. That would be great.
Hi everyone, I'm Mariam and I'm from India. I'm currently doing my master's in machine learning at MBZUAI. I'm the student ambassador of the Graduate Student Council here. And yeah, that's about me. Right now, my thesis is about fingerprint presentation attack detection. Let me know if you need to know anything else about me.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Appreciate you sharing kind of your background and who you are. We're really thankful to have you here today. I also see our other Graduate Student Council member. Is it Dilshad? I want to make sure I'm saying your name appropriately. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If you'd like to also unmute yourself and you can share your name, where you're joining us from in terms of what your background is, what program you are at MBZUAI, and maybe also, oh, looks like he fell off. I know he had some tech issues. Hopefully he'll be able to hop back on. Miriam, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he's from Tajikistan and he's doing natural language processing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, awesome.
He's black though.
All right, looks like he's rejoining. Hi, is it, Dilshad, can you hear us okay? I'm not sure if your internet is stable.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Would love for you to, we're so grateful to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Would love for you to introduce yourself to the group, your name, what your current studies are, and maybe what your role is at the council. I think you're
okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for the hosting, and I'm very happy to see everyone. Okay, I'm master student in natural language processing. My name is Dilshad Azizov, and I'm currently my position in Graduate Student Council is the Vice President of Student Development. We're doing like very good stuff to develop the students. For example, mentorship program, we have several programs. And the study in our university is, I think it's pretty good. We have a very high level professors. And what else? And we have a good scholarship. And this is, I think, is also important. Do you have any questions? Ask me.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. This is excellent to get a sense of who you are and your background as well. So I'm going to open up the floor in terms of questions. So the way this will kind of work, I'll start with a couple questions just to get our panelists started, and would love for you all as the prospective students to ask your questions. So feel free to either drop those questions in the chat or use the raise hand function, and you can ask your questions directly to our students. This is the perfect time to ask your questions either about the application or admissions process, as well as their experience at the university. So please don't be shy. And I'll just kick us off with the first question just to get us started. And students, please feel free to use the raise hand function or drop your questions in the chat. So the first question I'll just share would be, how did you first learn about MBZUAI, and what was it that made you, that you decided to apply to MBZUAI and it seemed like the right fit for you. So maybe Miriam, if you want to start us off.
So the way that I got to know about this university is that I had cousins living in the UAE and they knew about this. So they told me I should apply to this university because like I had a background in computer science. And when COVID hit, I was already learning and like exploring this field, machine learning. And I had done a couple of projects and like I think I had one research paper on machine learning recommender systems. So I was really interested in this. Yeah, that's how I applied here.
That's great. And then Dishla, do you have any thoughts that you can share in terms of how you first learned about the university? I know you were outside of UAE when you discovered the program as well.
First time I heard about our university from the internet. You know, I've used the Instagram and so on, and I saw the ads about the unit. And just by luck, I started to fill the form of application. And it was pretty interesting, pretty tricky. And I'm here. I like this is the process. I think it's, and I had a very good background, I think, but this is like small story of my trip.
Great. That's perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it's really encouraging in terms of hearing that, you can just learn about the university, apply, and that you can have the full experience of being able to get in and come to campus, especially from another country. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. That's really helpful to hear. We have a great question that just came in the chat from our prospective students for those in particularly machine learning programs, but obviously just getting a sense from both of your experiences, no matter what your degree study is, would be great. I know, Mariam, you are a machine learning student, so maybe we'll start with you, but also would love to hear from the NLP experience as well. What is the curriculum based towards in terms of if there are certain sectors that are emphasized or skills or experiences in the program? Maybe Miriam, if you want to start that off in terms of machine learning, and then Dishal, we could go to you in terms of your experience and the natural language processing.
Sure. So it's like for us, we had to take 3 courses in the first semester. And then it's optional for you to go for other 3 courses also in the next semester, or you could take 2 courses and then start your research. If you want to start your research in AI for business, then for sure the professors, I am pretty sure they're going to support you with that. Like if you have a research idea in mind about where you want to apply AI in and how you want to do that. But if you're talking in terms of us having a course for that subject, then I think we don't have one right now, but you can always do a project on whatever you're interested in. And I'm mostly all the professors, they're really supportive and they don't impose you with a particular project that you have to work on. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Miriam. Dilshad, do you have any insight you could share in terms of the natural language processing program?
Okay. Well, the program is almost similar, but we have the for the natural language processing, we have the slightly different. It's focused on the natural language processing. For example, we have the core courses. It's natural language processing, advanced natural language processing, and speech processing, advanced, and so on. It depends on which field you will choose. For example, if you will choose the computer vision, you will focus. Your courses will be on computer vision, but also you can take as the elective other courses. Okay. And what's the most interesting is that we have options. We can, for example, after in the second semester, you can choose the two courses and you can do the research. This is, I think, it's very good. And our university is the research based, and the university and professor will motivate you to do research mostly. the courses is important, but the research is the like our future. We're gonna do the research. This is like my small experience.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate getting to hear also from the another program's perspective. I also see that Hanan has joined us, who's also another current graduate council member. Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on and meet us. Would love for you to just introduce yourself to the group, maybe your name, where you're from, which program you're in, and what your role is on the council would be great. Oh, sorry, looks like you're still on mute.
Can you,
Yes.
am I audible now? Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Hanan. I'm a master's student in a machine learning department, and I'm also the representative for the machine learning program at MBZUAI. And right now, I'm in my first semester of studies, and the semester is about to end in just few weeks. And we are just, yeah. So we are just, getting ready for the exams and the projects and all the things. So I joined here. So I have some history because I had joined here first as a researcher back in October 2021, and I worked here as a researcher for like 9 or 10 months. Then I switched to being a student. I joined MS program in machine learning, and when I was here for the last 1 year, I did research on something called as a vision transformers, and I got the paper published recently in UK. So in the next week, I might have to travel to UK to present my paper there. And regarding the ML program, like it is kind of very exhaustive. You will learn a lot of things. You will do a lot of things here, and it's also like the standard of research is pretty much high. If you see the other universities or colleges, it's like I mean the top ones. It's as compared to them in terms of the quality of research and the quality of the studies here. So it's not like if you are coming here, expect it to be like something very high. Apart from it, if you want to ask any question regarding any courses or research or something, you're free to ask.
Thank you so much, Hanan. That's really exciting to hear about your background and experience. I'm curious just to hear about how you even discovered the opportunity to research at the university prior to your kind of role as a student.
Yeah, so first, when I came here, I was working at Samsung at the same position as an ML engineer there. And when I heard about this university, it kind of, I was very excited. I just got very excited, because I always wanted to end up in academia. I didn't want to end up in the industry. So, but yeah, the industry did. It did help me. With the experience, I did learn a lot there, and that's still helping. And I'm getting some help from my industry experience while I'm working here. So that it was now or never situation for me because I wanted to go into academia very desperately, and that that was it was the moment for me. And one night I just resigned and I just came here.
That's amazing. That's a very, very interesting story, and getting to hear about kind of your journey to the university is really inspiring. Thank you for sharing all that. We had a great question come in the chat that I would love for council members to address as well. For those, if you've either had little to no programming background, or if you know students who did, and what was the learning curve like? Because obviously we know there's a huge need in a foundation of mathematics, but if you can either speak from personal experience, or for those who know also people who don't have a strong programming background, what is that learning curve like, or what has that experience been for you all? So open to any and all the council members.
For me, I know a few people who did not have a programming background, and for that matter, like they did not do computer science at all. And in fact, like I also know a few people who had a biology background. So they came here, and that's when, like, I think when they got accepted here, that's when they started preparing for it. But even to be accepted, you need to like have something, maybe some interest that you can prove to the university that you really are interested in doing a machine learning or a computer vision or an NLP course program here. But yeah, like I think it's a little bit hard for them, but if you really want to take the challenge and you think you can do it, then you for sure can do it. Because like there are people who are here like with a core mathematical background or biology background, but they're still surviving and actually doing really great.
That's really helpful. Thanks for sharing. Either Dashad or Hanan, any additional thoughts?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go on. Okay, I'll respond.
Go, Hanan. Talk.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I have certain friends here who are from math background, who are from some other mechanical backgrounds, some other backgrounds, and it's really nice to see that they are now publishing the papers in AI in AI and machine learning. So I mean that what I want to say here is that yeah, if you come here with some other background with very little experience with the coding stuff and all, but the standard here, the environment here, it will help you in learning at every step of your journey. So that's what. So it's okay if you are not from this background. You will have to learn. Yes, if you come here, you will have to learn. You will learn because the environment here is pretty much friendly for you for learning.
That's great. Thank you all so much. It's really helpful to get a sense of things. I know also in our last Q&A session, Adnan provided a link, which I can share out to the current attendees for the session as well, of kind of YouTube channels and resources to kind of pick up those basic programming skills and feel a little bit more prepared, especially because with the entry exam process as part of the admissions experience, there is a little bit of programming that's often involved in those tests as well. So having those kinds of self practice preparation materials is really helpful, like Coursera, YouTube, other resources. So that's definitely something that I've heard other council members recommend as well, which is great.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please.
So if you're accepted to the university, they actually send you a lot of, maybe not a lot, but like, yeah, some Coursera links and maybe links to some other courses that you can do that helps you prepare for how the courses are going to be. So it's like it starts from the basics and then like it prepares you pretty well if you do it.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know. That's excellent that the university provides that as a resource. Because it is, when they say STEM background, that can look like a lot of different things for people, whether that's physics, statistics, computer science, engineering, different fields as well. So that's great to hear. We've gotten other really great questions in the chat that I want to address. We have a question about plans after graduation. So for the three of you all, again, I know we have folks who just started their programs, people who are further along in their programs, but whether it's shorter term, longer term goals, what are some of your aspirations and plans in terms of once you've gotten your master's from MBZUAI, what are some of your hopes or goals? Or if you have friends who have plans and they're getting ready to graduate, would love to hear about that as well. So whoever would like to kick us off with that question.
For me, I'm gonna be graduating in like, I think 5 months in May. Like I would say 5 months because after 4 months I have to be done with my thesis and all of those. So I'm gonna have to start looking. For me, I'm inclining more towards looking for a job, like going to the industry. And I think 20% of me wants to do PhD. So right now I'm still making the decision, but most probably I think I'm gonna be going to the industry. But I know that a lot of people are gonna go for PhD in our university because yeah, it's an option. So it could be anything actually. And also I know that a lot of people are, not a lot, but like, yeah, a handful of people, they're thinking about going for startups, like starting a startup.
That's exciting. That's really interesting to hear. Also just wanted to follow up briefly, Miriam, when you say going into industry, is there a certain sector of work that you're particularly interested in, whether that be healthcare, education, or cybersecurity, or different areas? When you say industry, what does that look like for you?
Right now, I think I would really like it if I go to something which is established and has a lot of AI based things. Like maybe could be a startup, but like it could be medical, but like something which is not computer science. Like, of course, this is computer science, but like not very generic, like something which is more specialized towards AI or ML. So I'm pretty much open to it being anything like data science or anything machine learning, engineering, even computer vision, like that.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. For our other two panelists, any ideas, plans after your studies?
Well, I would mostly like to be in academia. I would mostly start my PhD after my master's here. Maybe I would start PhD here only, or if not, I can maybe move to some other country for the PhD, because that's what I thought when I left the industry here.
So for like longer term aspirations, do you see yourself teaching yourself or continuing to do research?
Why? So in longer terms, I think I would stay in academia, and I would have some affiliations with some industry as well, and because that's also like a great platform, because you can just work there on the applied things. You can just apply your inventions there. That's kind of a very nice thing. So, but I would stay in academia and also maybe get affiliated with some industries. That's my kind of plan.
That's great. That's really helpful to hear. Dilshad, what about you? Any thoughts?
Okay. What I'm thinking, I will graduate after 5-6 months, also like Mariam. And I'm working on my own project. I'm doing my own startup. We're working with like couple of my friends on the startup, and I think I will go through this industry. Then we will see. Let's get the experience.
That's great. It's really exciting. What type of startup would you be interested in doing, or what type of work would that involve?
We are currently working on the, okay, what's the idea of our project? You know, the Grammarly platform.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We want to do something similar, but in other languages, and Russian, Arabic, and so on.
That's awesome. That's a really, really cool platform. That would be amazing to have as a resource on a more global level. Thank you for sharing. We're getting lots of great questions in the chat here, so I want to make sure we're taking those as we can. So we had a question about kind of background courses and prerequisites in terms of what courses or subjects are really helpful to have strong knowledge in. So obviously, you know, we think about mathematics, but are there core subjects that the curriculum borrows from in the AI courses, especially in that foundational year, or subjects that are really important to have kind of a handle on as you go through the program? So would love to hear from anyone and everyone, especially because we have both machine learning and NLP represented today.
Haley, it was stuck for you.
I think, yeah, I think it's now. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it's fine now. Hannah, do you want to go with that question?
So yeah. So for the courses, like the first and foremost that I thought that I experienced that is helpful here, that if you have taken math courses, that's really helpful. Also the CS courses, for example, some kind of data structures, maybe that's also helpful because you are going to code here a lot. Also some kind of, like, it's not limited to that, maybe some kind of electrical subjects also, like for example signal and system processing, signal processing, audio processing, image processing. These things are like the basics that maybe they'll help you a lot if you are like enrolled here.
That's great. Any other thoughts or insights on courses or foundational subjects?
I think I would say just for the basics like mathematics and knowing Python would be really, really helpful. Like if you want to be here, then I would highly recommend you to start with learning Python. And for that matter, also doing PyTorch and learning a few libraries in Python would really help you.
Excellent. Any other thoughts, or can also move on to the next question. This is an interesting one. Question about if you all are familiar with anyone who's been able to condense the master's program to 1 year. Obviously, with the structure of the master's program, the first year is very course-based, and the second year is, you know, working on your research thesis. I personally, I'm not familiar with anyone who's been able to condense it into a year, but curious if any of you three are familiar with someone who's done that based on having a previous AI background or other things.
I think given the structure of the courses here and the research and the standard here, I don't think you can, I mean, shorten this thing into 1 year. It's impossible. It's nearly impossible here because the courses are very, I mean, standard. It's like the level is pretty much good, and you need time. You need to spend time on each course, and maybe there are research credits also. You need to spend time on that. I mean, it is time consuming. It will take you completely 2 years for this, because it's not like any other like this master's program. It's a very standard master's program, and if you go to US or any other country, you will see there that the master's is at least 2 years. In some countries, it's more than 2 years.
I agree with Hanan. This is, you know, very intensive. We have a courses, and it's very difficult to finish it in 1 year. You can finish your courses maybe during the 1 year, but not your thesis, your research, and so on. That's it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. It's really helpful. Sorry, Miriam, I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I know that people, some people like who have taken math or machine learning previously, they do skip some courses, but like I don't think they will ever like not ever be able to, but I think like it's a university thing that you have to do it in 2 years. So even if you skip the courses, then you might want to have to take other courses. I think it works like that, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can mail the university and ask about that specifically.
That's great, helpful insight to see. Yeah, I've known a few students who have had like literally specific AI courses, so they've opted out of a few of those, but it does seem like they might replace those for electives or other options. We talked a little bit about this in terms of, we have a question in the chat about programming languages or technologies used. So again, Python is something that we also heard mentioned in terms of a language that would be really helpful to be familiar with and have an understanding with. For the screening entry exam, as well as just for the program. Are there other programming languages or technologies that would be, in y'all's opinions, helpful to have a sense of before the program or while you're in the program?
So in addition to Python, you may learn PyTorch. It's the kind of machine learning framework that you use to implement all the algorithms which are there in machine learning, because you cannot code everything from scratch. So the Facebook has made, PyTorch. It's way easier to learn. So everyone here uses PyTorch in their research. So maybe if you're coming here, make sure that you take some classes of the PyTorch. If it's just available online, like number of videos are available online. Thousands of videos. Like you can learn PyTorch online and also Python. And I think with these two skills, I think you can survive it very, very well.
Great, thank you, Hanan. Any other thoughts for that question before we move on? Awesome, thanks for that. And we have a question in the chat about going on from the bachelor's to the PhD track, because obviously traditionally students apply for a master's with a bachelor's degree or a PhD with a master's degree. Are you all familiar with other students who have applied directly from gaining their bachelor's to a PhD, or any kind of thoughts or insights on that process?
well, I don't remember anyone from first and second batch because they had this criteria that they had to have a master's degree before PhD. But since the third batch came, we saw some of the students here that they directly came from the bachelor's degree. But in order to come, but yeah, it's a very hard transition from the bachelor's to PhD, because you have to be very exceptional. In that case, you have to have papers in your undergrad only. You have to have like very good hold on the subjects, very good GPA, score very good recommendations at that level. So yeah, it is possible. It's not impossible. It is possible, but just that your background should be very strong.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, typically for students who are applying to a PhD, which is a bachelor's, we really encourage them ensuring they have really strong references who can attest to their academic rigor, and work ethic is really important. Having any background in terms of formal research experience, internships, professional experience is going to be helpful. Publications, things that will just kind of set you apart, because it is the non-traditional track to go directly there. A couple other notes that are important for students who are looking at that track to do. Normally, in the admissions process, you are not required to take the GRE. However, for the bachelor's to PhD track, you would be required to take the GRE at that point. So that's another note that's just important for students who are interested in going from bachelor's to PhD. You need to take the GRE exam, and you can kind of see the recommendations in terms of minimum scores for the GRE as well. We also recommend students just come in with a higher GPA, because they're not able to kind of provide that master's as academic credibility as well. So that's a couple other notes just in terms of the bachelor's to PhD pipeline. It's a little bit of a different process. Another question that came in, which I'll initially address and then would love for further insight from any of our panelists, is questions around the entry exam in terms of whether there's a pass or fail mark. Speaking on behalf of my colleagues in the admissions team, the entry exam is merely one part of your entire admissions application package, where obviously the first part is your online application itself, the second part is the entry exam, and then the third part is the admissions interview. So you'll submit your application, and upon that being favorably reviewed, and obviously your references are submitting their recommendations about you as well, then you are invited to the entry exam. And once you complete that entry exam, your application is re-reviewed in tandem with your written form as well as your entry exam, which then helps kind of determine in terms of the admissions interview process. So it's more of a one piece that's part of the review process. And so it's not given kind of all a pass fail in terms of this is a determinant solely on whether you will be admitted to the university, but it allows the university to have a gauge as well, since we work with education systems around the world, what kind of foundational skills and knowledge are students coming into the university with. So that's a little bit of context there, but would love to hear from students who've actually taken the entry exam and successfully gone through the admissions process, what your thoughts were in terms of that entry exam process. So would love to hear from all three of you on that.
I think Hanan should go with that because he's the most recent person who took the exam.
Yeah, so the exam is one of the parts of the admission process, and yeah, it just tests your, the understanding of your math and some part of the coding as well. And the standard of the exam is good. It's not like the only deciding criteria, because like there are recommendation letters that you need to fill, and also statement of purpose is there, and also GPA, your research, whether if you have done any research thing, or which college are you from. All these things matter. For example, if your GRE is less, but you did very well in exam, that would compensate for the GRE less GRE. So it just works like that.
That's great. Thank you. That's really good insight. We have a question in the chat about applying for multiple programs at the same time. I can confirm that only one application will be reviewed kind of per applicant per recruitment cycle. So it's only possible to apply to one program. So whether that's you're interested in multiple master's programs, you do need to decide on one program, apply for that program. And if you're interested in both master's and PhD, you need to have one selection in order to be reviewed by the admissions committee. So unfortunately, it is only possible to apply for one program at, per application cycle. So every year applications open September 1st. They're open until the spring. So they're closing this year in April. So there's lots of time to apply, but we always encourage students to apply sooner than later because applications are reviewed and admitted on a rolling basis. So the earlier you apply, the effectively more spots are available to students. Before we kind of jump into the next questions, that kind of leads me to my own kind of curiosity question as well for the three of you all. At what time of the year did you end up applying, and how long did it take you to kind of go through that full admissions process? So from the time of, starting your application, submitting that, going through the entry exam and the interview, what was that timeline like for you? I think that would be interesting to kind of hear from all of you. So maybe Dilshad, if you want to start us off, and then we'll go to Miriam and then Hanan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the process was about, I think, that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because I applied in the almost end of the period, and I got after 2 or 3 weeks, and I passed the exam after 2 or 3 weeks. When I started applying my application, I got the offer. That's it.
Yeah,
It depends. It depends. It depends.
Yeah. Miriam, what was your experience?
So for me, it was a rush because I hadn't written my IELTS. So I did it in January, maybe 9th, and the deadline to apply to the university was 15th. So I probably got my results by the 13th of January, and I just had 2 days to the deadline. So yeah, I applied in January, and then I got my acceptance maybe by the end of April. Yeah, like I think by the end of April. So it was
a few months
then.
Think,
yeah, a few months. And maybe I took, I really don't remember like clearly the date, but I think I took the test in March.
Great, that's good to hear. What about you, Hanan? Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry.
No
So I just applied in mid-March this year, and when I applied, just 1 week after that, I got the exam. I took the exam, and just 1 week after the exam, I was supposed to have an interview with the management, and the whole process just took like I think 3 weeks for me. And it was because I was already here. I was already at MBZUAI, the application and all the things. I mean, maybe that's why it took like very less time for me.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I have heard from kind of working with students, Miriam's experience is more reminiscent to what a lot of students experience, where if you apply, in the fall or even January, that's, will take some time for the admissions committee to review your application, invite you to the entry exam. Another adjustment they have made to the entry exam this year, which is really nice, is they provide a 24-hour window in which you can take the exam, where before it was literally like a scheduled time period slot. That some students would have to take it, which could provide challenges if they had technical issues and other things. So the fact that there's a 24-hour window in which students can take that entry exam is really helpful. So that's great to kind of have a sense from you all. A couple other questions that have been coming through. Is it critical to have published papers and like publications before applying to PhD? But I'll kind of spread that for PhD or master's. I would say just as a general answer, being able to have publications, is that's a section that's possible to fill out in the some feedback in the application is really helpful, but would like to hear directly from students how important you think publications are to kind of your competitiveness in your application.
I think for PhD, they do really prefer you to have some publications in your master's. because I know that some people who are graduating this December, they're talking with the professors, with their current supervisors, how easy it is for them to get into PhD. But even for them, the people who are already studying in MBZUAI, like doing their masters, the professors, they emphasize on the fact that they should have some publications. So I think it's really like a really important criteria. Maybe not mandatory, but I think it's really important.
That makes sense. I appreciate that insight. Dilshad?
I agree with Mariam. I think it's not mandatory, but if you have, it's good. It's good to, you will have additional score to your application. That's it.
Great. There's a really interesting question that came through asking about which of the master's programs, machine learning, computer vision, or natural language processing might be more closely associated or kind of aligned with medical fields and looking at more of those healthcare professions. Do you all have any insights in terms of which program lends itself more, or do they all kind of equally? Curious what y'all's insights are there.
I think I think mostly CV, because we have a professor, Dr. Rahul, who Hanan has also worked with previously. He takes a medical imaging course in the university, which is really helpful. But you could take the course irrespective of what program you're currently enrolled in. Like you could be an NLP student and still take the course. But it's usually dealing with images because, of course, it's medical imaging. But I think in his lab, he also has people from NLP and ML backgrounds. So it's, you don't necessarily have to like be from a particular background or be enrolled in a particular program to be able to do something in the medical field.
Thanks for sharing that, Miriam. I know for a few students that we've been able to interact with in terms of what they've done, these are a few examples of student research areas and focuses. From the students that our team has interacted with, we see a lot of work happening kind of on the computer vision areas of looking at medical imagery and early prediction of diseases, as well as automation of medical processes. But like Miriam was saying, there's definitely kind of a variety in terms of what focus is being done depending on what skill sets you're learning. All the programs kind of allow for that. But we have had a few examples of students kind of in that computer vision program that have really focused on those aspects on the medical field. Going kind of back to the question about the entry exam, I'll provide a little bit of insight, but would love for other students to answer as well in terms of level of difficulty, what kind of basic coding questions or other questions are there. From my understanding, and students, please correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a different level of difficulty for the master's entry level entry exam versus the PhD. I believe the masters are not as detailed in terms of questions relating to programming or general foundational subjects. So would love to hear in terms of any insights you all can share in terms of how you experience the level of difficulty of the entry exam, as well as, you know, if there's variation between the master's or PhD entry exams.
Anand, do you want to answer yours?
Yeah, I think I have talked to people here. Yeah, there is a difference between the master's level entry exam and the PhD level entry exam. The master's level is like a bit easier than the PhD, because for a PhD student, they expect you to have a more thorough knowledge of the things. And also at the master's level, you don't need, if you don't know much about machine learning, that's okay. But for the PhD student, a basic understanding of machine learning and AI stuff is important, because that is being asked in the exam.
That's great. Thank you for that. A question that came in the chat that's really interesting as well is if you're familiar with any projects or research being conducted that relates to neuroscience. Again, I know you all have kind of your own specific interests and kind of sectors that you're involved in, but are you all familiar with any projects or research being done on campus relating to neuroscience?
I'm not really sure if anybody's doing it, but like I said, like if you're interested in that, you just have to talk with the professor, and they're mostly open to supporting whatever project you want to work on. So yeah.
One thing I just found on MBZUAI's website, which I can kind of share really quickly too, I just dropped the link in the chat. Definitely encourage you all to do some research on your own time of work that is being done at the university. Can you all see my screen, the web link? Okay, perfect. It looks like it's just slowly loading. So this was a news article that came out a little while ago, like a month or so ago, in terms of conferences for neural information processing systems. So you can see some faculty members that attended this conference that had publications with this area. So this is, again, very specific to, you know, this type of neural information processing systems, but definitely taking a look at what research is happening at the university in the different departments. You can actually be really specific in looking up keywords and things. So I definitely encourage you all to take a look at what's happening there, because I do know there's an emphasis often on the kind of healthcare medical fields as well. That's a great question. And one question that came in the chat is there's asking about NLP projects versus other programs and wondering if there's as many spots for NLP. So in terms of some background and context for that program, it's a newer program than both machine learning and computer vision. So it joined or it was added to the portfolio more recently than the other programs. So that's why there's less publications or projects, just because it hasn't been around as long as the other programs. So there's not a difference in terms of more or less spots. In some ways, we love to see students applying to NLP because it hasn't been around as long. So there are just less students because there were less previous cohorts. So definitely encourage you to focus on that as a program of choice if you're interested in it. And it's not about whether there's less spots, it's just a newer program. I really love this question about the university in terms of the community. Is it friendly? Is it competitive? What's the student life experience like? I really like this question. I think this would actually be a great way to kind of wrap up today's Q&A session, to kind of hear from each of the panelists what your experience has been on campus, especially for those who have been on campus for almost the full time of their program, those who just joined campus. Would love to hear from each of you all. So maybe Miriam, if you can start us off with your reflections on campus life and student life and how the community has been.
So I'd like to start with emphasizing how UAE is known for being one of the most friendliest countries ever. It's like when I came here from India, I thought everyone here was so friendly. They're always smiling, saying hello even if they don't know you. And talking about how the studies is, it's not competitive. It's like whenever I would get stuck with an error or something, I would contact people and they would come help me out. It's not like they're going to be like, oh no, maybe you should be stuck there forever. So yeah, it's really good. And the life here is you get to go out on weekends. We have Saturday and Sunday off. Like previously we would have Fridays and Saturdays off, not Sundays, but now it's the normal way. We have a lot of places nearby, like we have the fastest roller coaster, Ferrari World, we have beaches. So yeah, it's really nice. Like you're gonna enjoy it here. And the work environment is, of course, nice. You see people working around you and you feel like studying. They provide you with everything, like the most basic thing you can ever think of. So yeah, it's overall really good.
That's great. Thank you, Miriam. Really appreciate the insight to not only the campus life, but life in Abu Dhabi and the UAE. That's a really helpful insight. Dilshad, would love to hear from you as well.
I agree with Mariam, with my colleague. And what I want to emphasize that we have very good environment, research environment, and very friendly community. And you have everything. You have to just study. You can find the friends. You can find, you know, whatever you want. Like you have to study, and everything will come. That's it, I think.
That's awesome. Hanan, what are your thoughts and perspectives, especially as a newer student?
Regarding to the campus, like if you see that it's kind of it's a bit away from city, but if you come here, like it's uh, like it's very much kind of like you'll enjoy here. It's not like any other campus because it is really well built here, and around the campus you can find like many things are here that if you need any basic thing that you need here is available here, and city is just like it's it's like very near, like it's almost like 15 minutes away from here, and any good mall, any thing like is valuable in terms of like if you need for shopping or anything else, it's kind of very near to the campus. So yeah, it's very kind of and it's very lively campus like this. So I think you all will enjoy it here.
That's great.
Can
Thank
I add
you.
something to that?
Please.
I'd like to tell you that the university and the student affairs, they try to organize a lot of things for you. Like we had International Day, the last year, and they keep on organizing a lot of events for you. Like also the student council, like we had a costume party a few days ago. So all that makes you feel like home, no matter whatever background you're coming from. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. This is really helpful to get all of this insight. I think just the last question as we wrap up for today's session, would love to hear any final insight from you all in terms of for students who are in this Zoom room today and they're interested in applying, but they're a little bit nervous or they're unsure, whether they're trying to kind of make their final decisions. What would you encourage them? How would you encourage them? What would you say to them to encourage them to kind of hit the submit button on their application? Would love to hear from anyone and everyone on this final question.
I think Hanan should answer because he did it like a few months ago. He knows better than me and Mariam, I think.
Yeah, I think what I can say here is that even if you're not sure about if you're applying here or not, I mean, just apply. Like, I mean, like, there's no harm in applying. I just applied to many colleges in US and all, but what I learned, but I actually learned from there, like what mistakes I did, what I need to do, what I need to learn, like how I need to apply to certain college. I just learned. I mean, it's a whole process. It'll it'll just make you mature in terms of how to kind of how to design your application, for example. So there's no harm in applying. Please apply. Please go through the application. Please apply here, and if not anything, at least you'll learn some stuff from.
That's great advice. Thank you, Hanan. It is a really helpful process just to learn how to do these types of essays, go through these applications, be able to have the experience of looking at these types of programs. So that's really excellent advice. And like you've heard from Dilshad and everyone, they weren't sure whether they would get in. They weren't sure kind of what the experience would be, but being able to go for it and apply was exactly the right move for them. So encourage all of you all to take the time to really dig into the program choices, find a program that aligns with your interests and your goals. And we're here to support your application process. So just to kind of wrap up today's session, you can always stay connected to our team. I know many of you are, and you're working with me or team members directly, which is great. You can always review the admissions criteria on the MBZUAI website. Many of you all have already filled out this QR code scan, but it goes to our interest form, so you can directly get connected to our team and we can help you in your application process. We have resources for the entry exam, for the interview process, even for your application. We have guides for those, so always reach out to us if you have questions. So if you have any general inquiries, you can always reach us at mbzuai@iie.org, and this is my direct email as well. And again, we have colleagues in the Asia, Southeast Asia region, the Eastern Europe, Central Asia region, and the North America region specifically. And I'm also happy to help students from other parts of the world as well. So a huge virtual round of applause and thank you to our 3 panelists this morning who joined us and who took the time to be able to share their thoughts and insights with us. Really appreciate you, Hanan, Mariam, and Dilshad for taking your evening with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening to everyone with our at least 5 or 6 time zones represented today. And have a great rest of your Tuesday, no matter how many hours you have left. And we'll be following up with all the students with the recording from the session today, as well as additional resources that were shared in the chat. So stay tuned for that as well. And have a great evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye,
Haley.
everyone.
And for everyone else, please feel free to contact us or anybody else on LinkedIn if you have any more questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a
Thank you.
good one,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.